Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. We have a lot to discuss today. I want to go over Donald Trump's bizarre press conference yesterday during Thanksgiving, where he attacked a reporter. He called her stupid. This follows him calling another reporter piggy and posting that another female reporter is ugly on the inside and the outside. Then around midnight, he posted about Governor Walz of Minnesota and called him the R word. He said he's seriously R word, retarded. And I don't want to, so you know what I'm talking about. I hate using that word, but that's what the president of the United States was posting at midnight, saying that the governor of Minnesota is retarded. I mean, well, come on. What are we even doing here? And then we learned this morning that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense and a war criminal in a regime of war criminals, ordered SEAL Team 6 during one of the boat strikes, war crimes, where there were survivors. The first one, there were actually, I think, 2 survivors hanging on to the boat, still alive. And then SEAL Team 6 was ordered to basically shoot them in the head and kill them by Hegseth and murder them after they survived. Again, more war crimes. The people who carried out the orders, war criminals. The people who made the orders, war criminals. And it's frankly sickening and disgusting, honestly, to be, just sick to, like, this is the United States of America right now. I'll just show you this. This was last night during this press conference that Donald Trump had at Mar-a-Lago. Let me show you where he calls this reporter stupid. And this female reporter was asking a normal question. I mean, it's never okay to call anybody stupid. I mean, but the fact that Donald Trump can't handle the most basic question. And she says, look, when the shooter in D.C. was first let in by former President Biden, I mean, this person's background was 10 years working at the CIA with the United States. Like CIA.
Yeah, he worked with the CIA in Afghanistan.
He was an Afghan army soldier, special forces, worked with the CIA, and worked and passed every rigorous background check that there was. And so the reporter was asking that, and he was getting questions also. Well, you were the one, Trump, who granted this guy asylum in April. It was your administration. You can't keep blaming Biden for everything. Like, what about you? Just watch what happens here. Let's play the clip.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here.
Yeah. The problem is not the fact that they weren't properly vetted according to Trump. It's really the religion and, most importantly, the color of the skin. One of the things, Ben, that I actually talked about, for example, in my Substack, of the 19 countries that, as a result of the shootings that took place in D.C. of the 2 guardsmen, they all seem to have a very similar perspective to them. And it's all based upon the color of the skin. If you're black or brown, he doesn't want you in this country.
Yeah, I want to show you this next one, though, but we did want to talk about his golfing and his golf game. I'm a great golfer, and I beat all the young golfers. Here, play this clip.
Well, you got to go with what's important, right?
Let's play it.
I know a lot about golf. I've won 38 club championships, and I don't get to practice much. I won one last year. I won a club championship at a big club, beating a 27-year-old kid. I said, I'm decades older than you, but I said, the fairway doesn't know how old you are as you walk up the middle, and he's in the rough. And I've been a good golfer over the years. When you win, club championships are our majors. You know that. Most people can't play in them. They won't. We're talking about no strokes or anything else. So I'm a very low handicap, and I've won 38 of them legitimately, everyone legitimately.
Okay, and then you want to comment on that? Come on.
Look, he happens to be a decent golfer. Let me be very clear. I've watched him play. Did he legitimately win 38 club championships? The thing he doesn't actually tell you is that the 38 club championships all took place at golf clubs that have his name attached to it. So let me be clear. One has to start to, question the absolute legitimacy of the 38. He happens to be a good golfer, but no, he's by far not the best golfer in each of these clubs. I'll tell you, interestingly enough, my cousin, who happens to be a scratch golfer, played Trump in the, in one of the championships. And he came back, and the first thing Trump told me when he was there, boy, did I kick your cousin's ass. And I saw the look that my cousin gave to me. It's the same thing that each and every one of you are thinking right now.
Yeah, and look, he's golfed 27% of the time of this term so far. I think it's over 80 days, 87 days so far he's golfed. I mean, like, what are we even talking about here? And then he starts bragging that he says that he's designed the new Coast Guard cutters, their new boats. He's the one who designs them himself because he loves designing things, he says. Here, play this clip.
This is all of these places that got hit by the hurricanes and all of the different, the storms, the big water storms, as they call them, but mostly hurricanes. The jobs you do, the way you go into those seas, I wouldn't want to do it. You want to do it, but I wouldn't want to do it. And I just want to thank you for that. As you know, we've ordered a lot of Coast Guard cutters, brand new, beautiful, the best machines in the world, the fastest, the best maneuverability. They tell me. I said, how's the speed and the maneuverability? I'm a looks person. I wanted the hull to be perfect. I sort of redesigned the hull a little bit, the hulls, but we ordered a lot, and we're ordering icebreakers too that you're going to be in charge of. We have 11 of them being built right now. We had none. We only have one in the whole country. Russia has 48, and we have one, and that's just ridiculous. So
we'll get to talking about Russia in a moment, because as we've always been reporting recently, with Trump coordinating the plan with Russia to demand Ukraine's surrender, and we heard the audio of Witkoff and Dmitriev and
can we not skirt past his designing capabilities of this battleship that he's referring to, whether it's redesigning the hull or what's going on inside? You do realize that people go to school for this. They master in naval architecture. I wasn't really sort of aware that, my former boss was a naval architect. It's, there's so many things that are wrong. I actually don't want to be on a boat that isn't designed by a naval or a vessel architect. It's kind of like, hey, I decided I was going to, come up with a whole new design for an automobile. Really? Why don't you turn around and why don't you tell me what gives you the right to actually think that you can even design a naval vessel, a military vessel? The whole thing is it's beyond ridiculous. And the problem is, as you started this episode off, Ben, if you question, like if I was a reporter there on behalf of Midas Touch Network, on behalf of my Substacks or my Mea Culpa podcast, I would say, excuse me, Mr. President. He'd be like, oh shit, it's Michael. And I'd be like, yeah, Mr. President, quick question for you. Generally it would be a naval architect that would actually come up with the design plan, not only simply to ensure that it floats and that it operates functionally, but that you maximize the space and the usage of the vessel, yada, yada, yada. What training do you have in naval architecture? And then I would get one of the same that he had said to that reporter. I think she's from the New York Times. Are you stupid? One of those sort of things. That's pretty much probably the response I would get too for calling out his lack of naval architecture skills.
Yeah, 2 points there. Number one, it's why Trump's the worst person on the planet for the presidency. Like, you couldn't pick a worse person, because his malignant narcissism and his psychological defects or pathological defects make him substitute his own defective judgment in place of the actual experts. Like, literally all you have to do sometimes is just nothing. Just make sure you have the best people do it. Make sure that you have the highest quality and qualified people and let them go to work. Sometimes that's what being a leader is all about. And he's out there saying he's designing the ships. And remember, we've showed you clips a few weeks ago where he was talking about other kind of he doesn't like the way the stealth ships look or the stealth planes look, because he doesn't like the angles of it. And so he wants to go back, I think he said, to, when there was, like the way the ships looked like in the 1800s, because he liked the way that looked better. And it's like, what are you talking about? You like the way the ships look better in the 1800s? We're in 2025. You're going to replace our modern technology with that. And by the way, that's what he's doing with everything, right? Whether it's economic policy, going back to the 1800s with tariffs, like that's when we were the richest. That's when, when we tariffed. It's like, well, go back and look at what the quality of life of a human being was in the 1800s. I don't think people lived past the age of like 40, 45 during the time when you said people were the greatest. Like what are you even talking about here? So that's one point. The other point is, I'll give two other points actually. The U.S. Coast Guard cutters that he's talking about, like the ships, the cutter ships. That's what they're called. You know what those are used for, Cohen, right? Those are used for interdictions. Those are what we're supposed to use the Coast Guard for, is if there are drug ships that are coming in or these boats that have the drugs on them, you interdict, you question, you try to then figure out where the cartel leader is so that you can then run operations, not to kill the lowly level mules who have the task of driving the boat, so you can figure out systemically how you can deal with the source and the supply. I interviewed recently.
Yeah, but we don't really need those cutters because, in all fairness, Ben, we have drones, and it's now policy
To kill them
in this administration to take no prisoners, to target them using drones. I think they're up to, if I'm not wrong, it's 22 or 23 vessels with over 83 individuals on those boats killed. What do you need those boats for? In all fairness, too, if the United States got into a military conflict with Russia, I assure you that Russia would not be bringing out their 42 or 43 cutters within which to fight the American vessels. You can send a drone there to blow one of those cutters up as well. You could, drop it from a B-1 bomber or, one of our F-35s with a Sidewinder. I mean, the whole thing is stupid. There is, of course, a purpose for the ships, but he thinks that this is like, as you said, going back to the 1800s when, if you wanted to take over land or you were going to war, you sent your naval fleet there with all of your soldiers on. The purpose was not to destroy the other fleet. It was basically as a transport to get your soldiers to the other land. That's really what it was all about.
Yeah, I interviewed a lieutenant commander in the Coast Guard, James Martin, who's running for Congress in Florida's, I want to say 21st congressional district. I forget though if it's I've interviewed so many people in different congressional districts.
Yeah, you really do some great interviews, by the way. People should
thanks. But he's running against Brian Mast, who runs the Foreign Intelligence or the Foreign Intel Committee in the House of Representatives, a Foreign Relations Committee in the House of Representatives. But anyway, the guy I interviewed was a lieutenant commander in the Coast Guard, and he had performed like hundreds of interdictions, tens of billions of dollars of supply that he was able to capture, doing it the right way, and questioning the people, and so go back and watch that interview because he explained, these are war crimes that are taking place right there. So you have that going on. And then as part of this press conference that Donald Trump was having, right now he's obsessed with Somalian people, the Somalis and Somalia. Like that's all on his mind, Somalia. And so while the individual who was involved in the shooting in DC was an Afghan national working with the CIA for 10 years in Kandahar, Trump has turned this into that he hates Somalian people and that the Somalians are running Minnesota. And that's why he's been calling Governor Walz the R word. And so the reporters are asking him, like, why do you keep talking? Like throughout this press conference, he would say, yeah, I don't like the Somalians, and the Somalians, they're criminals. The Somalians, this, like just broadly defining Somalians as criminals, right? Like, did you say like if you think of another group of people, this group is this. That's what he's saying about the Somalians.
It's really funny that he says that because I'm not sure whether he's even had or ever actually personally come in contact with someone who's from Somalia. I actually had several dozens of Somalians who worked for me, years ago. And I have to tell you, they're some of the nicest people. They're some of the most respectful, and they took probably the best care of all of our vehicles of any group of people.
Well, here's what he says. Let's play it.
What do the Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the national?
Nothing, but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated, it's crime-ridden, it's a mess, it's a disgrace. And
I mean, seriously, you really can't make this up. You know why nobody has ever seen numbers or heard of things like this before, Ben? Because it's just not true, right? I mean, just because Trump turns around and says, "Oh my God, yeah, they are ripping off our country like you've never seen before." Well, in fact, if we ever actually sat down, Ben, and we put together like a clip of all the times that Donald Trump has said that, and we then underneath it, we listed which country it is, I think it's probably every single country in the world.
Yeah,
everyone's ripping us off.
Well, he seems like, how do I put this delicately? The racist grandpa who's mentally ill in hospice care, ranting about Somalians as like you're walking through the hall in the hospice facility and you're visiting whoever, and you hear somebody screaming, "It's the Somalians, and there's not even a country, and the Somalians are doing this and that." And it's like that's who occupies the Oval Office. And I really want to see a reporter when he starts calling them stupid, ugly, and piggy or whatever. I really want to see someone, I truly want to see who's going to stand up and just say, you know what? Stop saying, on one of those live things, stop saying that. That's really inappropriate, and like really get into it with him. But it's why I can never be in the room, because if he ever said that to me, I mean, I would scream back at him. I really don't give a shit. Yeah, I saw this meme right here.
I saw that too.
I would not be able to just take it. Like I would scream back at him, and I'd be like, "Fuck you!" I mean, excuse my language. Like I wouldn't be able to happen. I would go back and I'd curse at him. I'd be like, "Dude, shut the fuck up! Who are you? Who the hell do you think you are? You piece of shit!" Like, and I would start screaming at him. I know exactly, like the way I just let that out right now. I know exactly how I would react, to that. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you think you're the president? You think people respect you? You're gonna go down in history as such a fool. You're gonna go down in history as such a piece of crap. I mean,
and of course, what would happen right then and there?
Yeah, I'd get
him out of here. Get him out of here.
Exactly.
You'd have Secret Service come there, grab you by the head, escort you out, and while you're at it, hit his head against the door frame. That's what Get him out of here.
I would do the Cohen 50+ days in solitary is where
51, brother. Every one day counts.
Cohen, we've got a lot to discuss. I want to go over this Hegseth story because it's horrific. Washington Post broke the exclusive. They had some good reporters there still. You know, Bezos makes some of the worst editorial and op-ed and kind of undermines some of the good reporters, but they still have some good reporters who do good work. So I don't want to always cast with a wide brush because there are good reporters there too. So we'll talk about that. I do want to we'll talk about some other stuff as well. We've got a busy show here, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We hope you had a restful time with your family, and now we come back, we get ready to fight for our country and our democracy. And for me, when I was there at the Thanksgiving table, it just made me reflect more about the work ahead and what we need to do and the kind of future I want to have at future Thanksgivings filled with love and empathy and democracy. And we'll talk about that and more. Everybody hit subscribe here. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast. That's Michael Cohen's audio podcast. Subscribe to his YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Michael's YouTube channel is just crushing it these days. And I think a lot more people are watching that. That YouTube channel is on fire. So everybody check that out as well. And check out his Substack, and Michael Cohen's Substack. We'll be right back.
You ever try launching a podcast with zero experience? Well, let me tell you something. It's like being tossed into a cage match with a grizzly bear, blindfolded, wearing clown shoes. Because when I started Political Beatdown with Ben, I thought, come on, man, how hard can this be? Script writing, logos, production schedules, ad deals, and don't even get me started on the tech setup. I mean, I feel like I was decoding a damn matrix. Now, if only I had Shopify when I launched this beast. Shopify is the platform behind millions of businesses across the globe, responsible for a whopping 10%. You hear that? 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. And my friends, that's not hype. That's fact. From big names like Mattel and Gymshark to folks just getting their hustle off the ground, Shopify's got their back. I mean, you want a gorgeous online store? Shopify's got hundreds of sleek, ready-to-go templates that make you look like a design god. AI tools? Yeah, they've got those too. Writing your podcast descriptions, jazzing up your images, maybe even making you sound smarter than you are. I mean, not naming names. And you need a marketing squad? Shopify's built-in tools let you hit email, Instagram, TikTok, wherever your customers are scrolling or doom scrolling. And listen, Shopify handles it all. Inventory, returns, international shipping. I mean, they are the ride or die business partner that you never knew you needed. So if you got a big idea or even a little one and you're ready to turn that dream into a reality, head over to shopify.com/beat. That's shopify.com/beat to start your $1 per month trial today. That's Shopify, shopify.com/beat. All right, let me be honest with you. I've reached a point in my life where if a shirt isn't comfortable, I'm just not going to wear it. I don't care if it's fashion forward or European cut or approved by some celebrity stylist who never sweated in their life. If it clings in the wrong place or, I don't know, feels like sandpaper, I'm out, which is exactly why True Classic won me over. These guys had one mission: make premium, comfortable clothing that normal human beings actually want to live in without the designer price tag that makes you question your financial decisions. And judging by the fact that they've sold over 25 million shirts, yeah, people are into it. Like maybe we should trust them with more decisions into it. But here's what I love. True Classic isn't trying to make you look like you're stepping onto the runway. They're trying to make you look like the best version of yourself on a Tuesday morning when you're tired, you're under-caffeinated, you're running late, and you still want to look like you've got your act together. That, my friends, is a miracle in fabric. I wear these shirts all the time. They're tailored where you actually want a shirt to fit. Shoulders, chest, then relaxed everywhere else so you're not fighting with your clothes like they're trying to escape. No bunching, no stiff fabric, no, why is this poking me? Just a clean, easy fit that makes you look put together without the effort. And now they've got something for everyone, men, women, kids. So this holiday season, instead of buying people things they'll pretend to like, give them something they'll actually use, preferably more than once. Give comfort, give confidence, give true classic. You could find them at Amazon, Target, Costco, Sam's Club, or just go right to trueclassic.com/beat and knock out your gift list like an adult who plans ahead. That's True Classic, TrueClassic.com/beat. Go there now.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. You know,
Hey,
I
Ben,
gotta.
you know what I actually wanted to bring up, something that you and I was meaning to reach out to, but then again, because of Thanksgiving, it completely slipped my mind. So there's a reporter by the name of Jason Leopold. Are you familiar with what I'm about to bring up? So Jason is actually a friend of mine. Him and his partner, Anthony Cormier. They're friends of mine. We go for coffee all the time because the Bloomberg building is about a block and a half away from where I live. And it turns out that just the other day, and I think this is extremely important for our brigaders to follow here. So we all know that the Epstein files have been withheld from us. Turns out Trump just the other day did sign off for the release. The question, of course, becomes what information is going to be released? And it's a fair comment for people to make. And why? Well, because as we also know, prior to all of this craziness going on with the release of the Epstein file, the FBI under Kash Patel used 1,000 FBI agency in a project that they called the Epstein Transparency Project. In other, according to the FOIA documents that that Jason Leopold was able to get, they also referred to it as the Special Redaction Project. So you may be saying, okay, Michael, you're boring us. Tell us why this is important. Because the records that Leopold found and that what it revealed is how many hours that these agents actually worked to scrub this file. And it was like 4,700 hours at a taxpayer cost of in excess of $800,000. So that's the point, that I think that these agents work day and night in order to scrub this thing, in order to put aside, obviously Trump's name and maybe one or two other people. But I just thought it was extremely interesting that documents that he managed to get via FOIA demonstrate over 4,700 hours were spent by over 1,000 agents to the tune of over $800,000. That's certainly money that could go to doing many more important things than the Epstein Transparency Project.
Right. I mean, look, 5,000 overtime hours. So just think about what that's just the overtime hours, right? So what were the actual regular time hours? If the overtime hours were 5,000, right? You'd probably have to guess. What would you estimate? If those were the overtime hours, maybe a multiple of 5x?
I was going to say 4x, but I'm willing to say 5x, certainly,
right.
Sure.
So say between
20 and 25,000
30,000 hours were probably spent by FBI agents in a short period of time, meaning a lot of agents were working on it, to do redactions and to go through it to try to find where Trump's name was on it, and other redactions. But we know a lot of it was called, what Leopold say that they called it when they got those records in the public records? It's like
Trump Transparency.
It's like Operation Redaction or something.
Yeah, right. Special Redaction Project.
The Special Redaction Project, yeah, is what they called it. So, as we talk about what happened in Washington, D.C., and again, we're not right-wing extremist media, or propaganda media. So I want to be very clear that I'm not saying the reason that this happened in D.C. is because Donald Trump gutted counterterrorism from the FBI. But I do want to say it's an objective fact that Trump has gutted counterterrorism from the FBI's focal point. And he's moved the FBI to focus on finding grandma and grandpa, aunts, uncles who have been here paying their taxes, working in restaurants and in farms, or while they're shopping or going to the gym or going to church or going to court. That's where the focus of the FBI has been. And they put this intern from the Heritage Foundation, Thomas Fugate III, who was a summer landscaper, never in the FBI, a Trump super fan who interned at the Heritage Foundation, was appointed to lead the FBI's counterterrorism at the age of 22.
But it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
That makes, I mean, and that's,
I mean, you know, if it was either running this counterintelligence at the FBI or cleaning pools during the summer. I mean, it's one or the other, right?
yeah, exactly. No, it is like, it shouldn't be a Democrat or a Republican thing. It's just like, why would you have this Thomas Fugate guy do it? And yes, the Trump regime has spent all of this time doing redactions in the Epstein files, but you could just release the files, and it shouldn't take all that, you know, to, I understand that we want to be very sensitive to the victims, and we have to make, in the survivors, and make sure their names are redacted. But you and I have done big, heavy doc review, I mean, cases before, you know, as lawyers. It doesn't take 30,000 hours or 40,000, whatever it is. Cohen, I have an important question, though, for you, which you may know this better than anybody. I couldn't help but notice at the Mar-a-Lago Thanksgiving that this is what the food looked like. And I'll move on after this because I don't want to spend a lot of time. But I've always noticed that for those listening on audio, it looks like gross. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, there's like 3 pieces of carrots that just look drenched in oil. There's a piece of ambiguous meat that looks like it may have just been literally like ripped out of the animal and thrown onto it. There appears to be shrimp, although the shrimp and this ambiguous piece of meat seem to blend together and form.
All right, first of all, that's not shrimp, that's lobster next to what appears to be some form of a steak next to, I don't know what the phallic symbol is there at the bottom. Those obviously look like nuts over there. Yeah, and not the nuts you're thinking of. I'm talking about like those look like,
I wasn't thinking that he put, I wasn't thinking
like
that he
pine
put
nuts or something like that. But that's what it is. That's supposed to be their version of a surf and turf. I am really freaking, my nose was like right up pressed against my computer because Jeremy put that up for another second. I am really trying to figure out what that phallic symbol at the bottom is there. It's certainly not a pickle. Is it a mushroom? Is it a potato? I don't know. Can you please help me out here?
Look,
because
and my
I've
point
actually
is,
never even seen something like that before.
I've never seen anything like that. Like, here's the point that I want to
Where
make.
do you get a potato that looks like the Amazon? It looks like it's got Peyronie's disease.
The people there have all the money in the world. Quite literally,
literally they do.
They literally have, like, that's where literal is used appropriately. They've taken the money away from we the people. They've figured out ways to funnel it and screw over everybody, ripping away people's health care and benefits and just the things that people need to survive so that they can live in their billionaire oligarchy or whatever. And that, I just want to be very clear that their Thanksgiving is comprised of that. And Donald Trump walks in, they all have to obediently clap like he's Kim Jong-un. I could just say this. I could think of nowhere less that I'd want to be, truthfully, than eating that food with that individual. And that's what's so wild, though, Cohen, is that these people in that room, they view that as the pinnacle of what success is right there. And that's how they spent their Thanksgiving. It's wild to me.
No, I think it's more to the extent that they want to be in the room with the president, have FaceTime with him, because many of them use that membership and the relationship within which to enrich themselves financially, and they have.
And
they
he knows
have
that. So rather than even have the pretense of that they're paying $1 million, what's it, $1 million a year now or something crazy, to join it. So rather than even provide a meal that would be commensurate with the membership, the whole concept is just, you know what? We're not even here for this experience, okay? You're here to make deals. I'm here to use you. You're here to use me. And I'm just going to throw some slop on your freaking plate. And we're not even going to
not slop. There's lobster there that looks like it's definitely a pound worth of lobster. I mean, a little bit meager on the meat. Those three. It's not even so much what the food is as much as it is the presentation.
Also Thanksgiving.
Right? Where's the turkey? I don't know. To me, it's just can we go back to that just 1 second more? Because I'm still having a hard time believing that phallic symbol at the bottom, the Amazon symbol there, is a potato. Jeremy's telling me, shut up, stupid. It's a potato. I've eaten quite a few potatoes in my life. I've never seen a potato that looks like that.
I want to show this. The White House was posting the following this morning from the official White House account. They did two things. One, the White House rapid response said, read every word of this. And that was the message where Donald Trump referred to Governor Walz using the R word. I don't want to say it anymore, but you see it in the green right there. They also talk about denaturalizing American citizens who don't support Western values, or that was in the message. Then Donald Trump says, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. He goes, other than that, wish you a good Thanksgiving. And that's like he posted that at midnight after Thanksgiving was already over. Then the White House account says the following: Americans' confidence in the mass media has edged down to a new low, with just 28% expressing a great deal or fair amount of trust in newspapers, television, and radio to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. Then they go, the fake news. This is coming from the official White House account. What's notable, though, too, is that from the latest Gallup poll, Trump's approval is at 36%. So Trump's approval is at 36%. The media approval is at 28%. I don't think it's the own of the media that Donald Trump thinks it is. I think that, it's kind of like when you looked at why the American people were pissed at the Democratic Party for so long. It was because you weren't fighting Trump hard enough and you weren't pushing back and fighting for the people. It was that you were capitulating and surrendering to Trump. Where people don't like the media is that the media has given up its role as the fourth estate to actually report the facts and to stand up for the truth. There needs to be a lot more reports like the one that I'm talking about, that your buddy Leopold writes, the one that was just written today about Hegseth ordering SEAL Team 6 to go and kill the individuals who survived the boat strikes off Venezuela. That's what people want. What people don't want to see is ABC settling with Trump for $15 million.
So, you know what I would love to see you do there at MTN? I'd love to see you put out a poll. Do you trust the information that you garner from the Midas Touch Network and its various representatives? I bet you any amount of money right now that you will have more than 1 million people doing this poll, which I assure you, if you give me the poll that they used, it's going to be 1,000 times more people. I bet that's off of like 1,000 people or 1,500 people. You can have millions by doing it online, and simply you'll probably have more than an 80% favorability. So you know what that basically means, Ben? It means that people actually come here because they know that it's the truth, which is exactly why Fox is constantly attacking you and the brothers and this network. It's why you have even the Fox News and even CNN and MS Now, constantly attack independent journalism because they're losing their grip, which of course is not just power, but it is also money.
Yeah, I want to highlight that story. We talked about it at the outset, though, and it's horrific that Hegseth ordered SEAL Team 6 to, quote, finish off the individuals who survived the boat strike. So our SEAL Team 6, I just remember, my buddy was a Navy SEAL. I'm sure you know Navy SEAls. I remember I took a road trip with my buddy across the country when I was going to law school, and we drove him to San Diego and for him to start BUDS, which is their SEAL team training. And I remember just keeping in touch with him about the SEALs, and he served in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And I remember, just the admiration for the work that the SEALs is doing. The fact that the Navy SEALs and SEAL Team 6 is the most elite of the SEAL teams as well. And so the fact that the most elite of the elite was ordered by Hegseth to kill these individuals who survived one of the first fishing boat strike, to me, it's just horrific what this country is now to the world.
You know what it tells me, Ben? You know what it tells me? It tells me that they were fearful of what those individuals who survived the boat strike might turn around and say to either the media or to police or to whomever that they ended up coming in contact with. I do know that mainstream media tried to get out there and to reach these individuals. They have not been successful, but that would have been one hell of an interview. Imagine the individuals that survived it, and you find out that you have SEAL Team 6 now hunting you down because they don't want any information on that boat strike coming out. I mean, that's gangster shit. No matter how you slice it, dude, that's fucking gangster shit.
You remember the oral argument before the Supreme Court on absolute immunity, and one of the examples that the liberal justices were posing to Trump's lawyer is, well, can you have SEAL Team 6 be ordered by the president to kill a political opponent or to kill whoever? And because you're saying that that's part of your Article 2 powers as the commander-in-chief, that falls under official acts, and therefore you have immunity. Is that what you were saying? And Trump's lawyer said, well, those hypotheticals would never happen, but if it's an official act, it's an official act. And then you'd have to, and then there would be immunity for that. And then as the right-wing extremist judges on the Supreme Court kind of battled with the liberal justices on the Supreme Court, what Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice, and the other right-wing Supreme Court justices were gaslighting us on is to say, those things are never going to happen. Okay? What we need to worry about is that if the president does not have absolute immunity, they're worried if their kind of snap decisions could ultimately result in criminal prosecutions. And that's just too much stress for the presidency to deal with. To which the liberal justices said, actually, we've had no absolute immunity. Since the founding of our country was based on no kings,
right?
We were literally founded on no absolute immunity. And no one's ever had that issue before. No one's even ever raised the fear of that as the presidency. So we don't think that. Just don't break the law and you don't have to worry about it. But what we're worried about is someone like Trump coming into power and using SEAL Team 6 to kill the opponents. And the right-wing justice, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. Well, we're kind of just a half a step away from SEAL Team 6 being ordered by Trump to kill the, whoever. I mean, because this to me is basically that example right there. SEAL Team 6 being ordered to kill innocent.
I would be very shocked if SEAL Team 6 even followed that type of an order. And I know everybody's saying, no, they will, they would. I'm not so sure because, just because the president of the United States has that presidential immunity, they do not.
They don't.
They do not.
They don't. And
neither does J.D. Vance, neither does MAGA Mike, neither does anybody that's working in that administration. It doesn't like osmosis flow off of you into them as a national security exemption to the law. That's not how it works.
Well, and that's where to try to create the legal pretext for it, which doesn't exist. It's why Trump labels anybody affiliated with Venezuela a terrorist organization and says we're at war with them. So he declares basically a war and says, this is part of the rules of engagement, to which the military lawyers will all tell you, even in a war where your order is to not give quarter to the enemy in an actual live war. Like if in a war there were
it's called rules of engagement,
and then
rules of engagement are very, very strictly followed. I do just want to add one thing to what Ben just said, and everybody. While Trump may or believe that he has the ability to declare war, he does not. Only Congress can do that. He can protect national security in a time of crises, but these 8 by 4 foot boats, right? Even if they are carrying drugs, does not constitute war.
Cohen, who are you going to give the two-finger salute to?
So the two-finger salute has to go to Pete Hegseth for the week. It's not just the tattoos that are racist and white supremacist and his freaking ridiculous comments to, kill these, these survivors from this drone attack on their vessels, which in and of itself, I do truly believe, Ben, the same that these will ultimately, and again, my friends, I want to digress for a half sec and tell you just how important these upcoming 2026 midterm elections are. If we are successful in taking the House, which everybody right now, with the momentum that the Democrats are controlling, and not because of people like Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer or Ken Martin with any messaging, it's simply because Trump and this administration are just that bad, that they are basically handing the momentum over to the Democratic Party. So not only do we believe that we can and we will take the House, it appears, based upon even a number of senators that are looking to leave and to not run again, that the Senate could ultimately turn Democrat as well. Either one or both is exactly what we're talking about. You will see a series of not just, forget about impeachment. That shit's not going to happen. I'm talking like more Nuremberg trials coming up. And I believe Pete Hegseth, with the shit that he's doing, with the emails that are coming out with, for God's sakes, this isn't Signal Gate 1 or 2. This is like number 6 already, because people are leaking all day long on all of the stupidity that's coming out of our Department of War and our Secretary of War. I believe we will see so much accountability once 2026 rolls the way we hope it will. And so with that, Pete Hegseth, with his illegal orders, with his unconstitutional demands on our military and so on, he clearly is deserving of the two-finger salute. Hey, Petey boy. Yeah, for you.
Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's other podcast, Mea Culpa. Go and check that out on audio. It's an audio podcast. I love Mea Culpa. It's right here on the Midas Touch Network. Make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Check that out. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. It's Michael Cohen on Substack. And subscribe here on the Midas Touch YouTube channel. Help us get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching. Have a happy Thanksgiving weekend. It's great to spend this Friday with you, and we'll be here next week with you as well. Shout out Midas Mighty. Shout out Beatdown Brigaders.
Boom.